Okay, I just want to go over a couple of quite universal animation techniques that animators use, namely stretch and squash and anticipation. So just techniques that help add a level of realism to your animation. So at the moment we've got this 60 frame thing that we've made. I just want to clear that now, so I'm going to bring down another window, change this to a dope sheet, then select all my frames, A and then X. Okay, so we're back to our can with no animation. Okay, now one thing we're going to use for this exercise is the stretch modifier. So I've just selected my can in my modifiers. Sorry, it's simple to form modifier. Here it is here, and then the mode of the modifier is stretch. So you can see what the modifier does, essentially stretches or squashes our model. However, at the moment our origin point in our can is dead in the middle, and what we want is, as the can, we're going to have it jump up and down, and as the can hits the ground it's going to sort of squash down into the ground a little bit. But currently when I squash my can, it squashes from both directions. We want it to squash from the top down. So what we're going to do is position our 3D cursor at the base of the object. Remember to check your front and side view for this. And then to move this origin point, we can go Object, Transform, Origin to 3D cursor. So now when I change the stretch factor here, you can see it's giving us more what we're after. Okay, so I'll leave that at 0 for now. We'll come back to this modifier, but we'll leave it sitting there, it's ready to go. I'm going to grab my armature that's in my can and turn X-ray on, so into modifiers, tick X-ray, just so when I'm in solid view I can see those bones all the time. And then we're going to animate the scale of these bones first. So I'm just going to, actually no, sorry, if I grab my can at the moment, we're going to animate the can bouncing, but if I move the can up you can see it's leaving my bones behind. So what we need to do is select one of our bones, shift select the can and Control P, and set the can to be the parent object. So now the parent moves and the child bones have to follow. Okay, so we'll animate these bones scaling down and then scaling back up, so that this is our anticipation, the can's sort of crouching down ready to jump into the air. So we'll keyframe the scale at frame 1 here, scale, and go up to frame 5. Just zoom this up a bit. Okay, at frame 5, scale these along the Z-axis, so it's crouching down. And then up to frame 10, we can hit Alt-S with our mouse up here, Alt-S to clear that scale, keyframe that again. So now it crouches down, and then here we're going to have it jumping up into the air, and then it'll come back down again. So we might do that now. So we're going to keyframe, now we're selecting the can, keyframing the location of the can at frame 0. It crouches down up to frame 5, and we still want it in this same location, so insert location keyframe here, crouching down, then as it goes up again, you can grab it along the Z-axis and keyframe it there. So jumping into the air, and then it's going to come back down, maybe to frame 15. What I'll do for this, because I don't have my can sitting on a ground plane, I need to know where it needs to come back down to land. couple of things I could do. I could add an empty object here so I can use it as a reference to show me where it needs to come back down from here, back down to the ground. Or I can just go and duplicate these first keyframes that I've got here. It's the location keyframe that I need. So I'll just Shift D that, and then back up to frame 15. Okay, so up and then back down. It hits the ground, and it'll probably bounce a little bit just as it hits the ground there. So we'll, at frame 15, record the scale here. And then we might just make it quite quick. So frame 16, scale it down along Z. And say 18, I'll go up to 20. Alt S, set the scale there. Okay, so we've got crouching down, jumping up, and coming back down, just hitting the ground there. So that shows us our anticipation. The anticipation is the crouch down. We've got a little bit of stretch and squash going on. It's sort of squashing down when it hits the ground here, squash, and then stretching back up. We'll just amplify that now with this modifier that we've got on our can, the simple deform modifier. So I've selected my can in my modifiers. This deform factor is something we can keyframe. So we'll leave it at 0 on frame 0. And then if I hover my mouse over this factor slider here and press my I key, you can see it turns yellow, meaning that it's keyframes that factor value. And then down to frame 5, as it crouches down, we'll have it go a bit like this. So squashing out, keyframe that. And then as it jumps in the air, we'll have it do the opposite. So we'll bring the factor up this way a bit. So about there, so a little bit wider on the top. Keyframe that. Comes down. Now, as it hits the ground, we can have it revert to its normal shape. Keyframe that. And then as it dips down a little bit, once again, squashes out a little bit. And then up to frame 20, back to its normal shape. Keyframe that. Okay, so I'll set my start and end frame to frame 20 here and just play that animation so you can see what it's doing. And then if you wanted to, you could animate the bones, put some keyframes on the rotation of the bones, so as it crouches down it might actually bend a little bit before it jumps into the air, sort of bend over and then jump. We won't worry about that now, but hopefully that'll help you add some realism to your animations.